Hey everybody, it's the January transfer window and matches are happening pretty much every other day here. So there is so much news plus matches and only 2 podcasts and match reviews to do it. And I can't cover everything. So in the spirit of new year, new me, I thought we'd do a top 5. That's the 5 biggest pieces of news from today, January 4th, in the world of FC Barcelona. And before we get to our top 5, how about you help me get to 10,000 subscribers by hitting that little button down there. As I promised for months and months now, getting to 10,000 means that you're going to get a special video that I guess I've been working on for quite a bit of time now. So make sure you subscribe to this channel. The faster we get to 10,000, the faster I can make that video. Number 1 is Juventus needs a Morata replacement. Alvaro Morata, who's been linked with Barcelona now, has never scored more than 15 league goals in a season since making his first of 6 transfers in 2014, a total that has reached over 230 million euros. While I do think there is some credence to the rumors that Barça and Alvaro Morata have agreed to personal terms, I also think there is some credence to the rumors that Juventus does not want to part with him, especially a player on loan here in January. Like Barcelona, the old lady has her fair share of financial constraints, so they don't want to just give away a player that they have on loan. And they also won't be paying Atleti the 40 million euros to sign him in the summer, something that Barça apparently will do. So maybe Juventus wants to bring in a long-term younger striker now, and having Morata off the wage bill will help them do that. That said, I'm not sure who Juventus is going to find in this market as that younger striker. So it might just be a deadlock waiting all the way to the end of this transfer window. So maybe Barca has a deal done. Well, they might already have a deal done, but can they get that deal done in theory with Juventus through Atletico Madrid? It's gotten awful confusing awful quickly in the case of Alvaro Morata to Barcelona. 2 is Alemany's hard line on the Dembele contract. The only new news, that's a little bit of a tongue twister, but the only new news about Dembele's contract is that Alemany has come out and said there is no other meeting to look forward to. Even though Dembele and his agent has the leverage and is listening to other offers, Alemany has said that the ball is in his court. He said that, quote, "It's not true there will be another meeting. There has been contact with his camp for months. They know the club's position, that we want him to stay. There's a renewal offer on the table, and that's with them. It can't be put off for much longer. We're waiting for a definite answer." And that last part is the most telling, and why Dembele's camp has the leverage here. Barcelona need him to sign that renewal or to sell him on so they can register players. Keeping Dembele at his current wages are not going to help the club and to get anybody, that being Ferran Torres in particular, into the squad. I do like the honesty that Alemany has, because it's one thing for the Catalan media or somebody on Twitter to slander Dembele, call him lazy, and just create some nonsense that's maybe a little fabricated and not real. I mean, I know people in the comments are going to say he's greedy, but for Alemany to be honest and saying, hey, the ball's in their court, we hope that they do. For Barcelona having taken care of Dembele for the last few years, we hope that him and his agent do us the courtesy of, if he is leaving, to let us sell him on now so that we can at least get him off the books and register and do the business we need to in January, with or without Dembele. 3, speaking of transfers, Coutinho, did he give the okay? Now, I'm not sure about this one, because at any point, Coutinho's camp might have said, okay, with the right offer, and he might have been saying that for transfer windows upon transfer windows now. Why are things different? That's why I'm a little skeptical about this one, but if there is a time, this would probably be the time for Coutinho to once again agree to go on loan and get at least some of his salary off the books. And I say loan instead of permanent option because in January, it's going to be awful difficult for the club to get any kind of revenue built from a sale of Coutinho. And I also think Xavi making some comments about Coutinho, as fair and diplomatic as he is when talking about Dembele and some others, it's got to be it for Coutinho after this comment. Quote, "We still don't know what happens with Coutinho. Of course, we need to sell players in January." And I think that tells you all you need to know about what the club is trying to do with Coutinho in January, as they've been doing. We've heard some Brazilian teams linked as well as the regular Premier League stuff, since EPL teams are basically the only clubs that can afford his salary. But as I said before, I'm a little nervous that any team is going to be willing to sign him on a permanent deal. And he might just have to go out on loan again so that Ferran Torres can be registered. As I said, that continues to be the biggest priority in this January transfer window. 4 is Laporta keeps the Haaland hope alive. And I know people, especially in the comments, are going to be divided on whether or not Erling Haaland would even be a good piece of business for FC Barcelona, with how much he would cost. And I think what the expectation would be for him at the club, and whether or not he might even fit in Xavi's vision. I've said for a long time, there's a video from quite a while ago on this channel breaking down from last season what Erling Haaland is capable of, and a guy who puts the ball in the back of the net like that, I'm not too worried about his talent fitting into almost any system. And yeah, he might have a little bit of an ego, but it's not anywhere close to the egos and battle that was Ibrahimovic when dealing with prime Messi in 2009, 10, or whenever that was, with Pep Guardiola as well in that locker room. There's a lot more combustible options there than Haaland coming into a largely young team under a manager like Xavi. According to Deportes Cortro, Mino Raiola has said that Erling Haaland will sign for Barca if the club can afford him, choosing the Catalans over Real Madrid. But that's a huge if on both counts, actually. There is nothing that Raiola has to gain by making that kind of guarantee, especially now in January. With Dortmund in the Europa League, so yeah, maybe he'd want to leave, but I don't think he could play Champions League for his new club this season. And obviously that wouldn't be the case with Barca either. As I said on the podcast yesterday, Man City and Real Madrid can comfortably afford the player already. So if Haaland were to choose Barcelona, that means he's choosing the project and maybe future money down the line, and to be, I have to say, the top dog, maybe along with Ansu Fati, but to basically be that top marketing giant at FC Barcelona and not have to contend with Man City and Real Madrid and all those other superstar players there. Laporta said during the Ferran Torres presentation that Barca is back, and there's nothing to say that the club won't be able to pay the transfer fee. However, and it's a big however, 30 mil per season would not fit with the redesigned wage structure. And even if the legal limits for Barca go back up some, that's a lot for just one player. And you can say that Coutinho, Roberto, Dembele, and Umtiti all together would easily pay for Erling Haaland, but it's those contracts and when they were signed that created the financial issues for this club in the first place. So you don't want to sign Haaland and jump right back into the belly of the beast financially. That doesn't make much sense to me. The good news or the bad news is Haaland obviously isn't coming to any club, maybe. Maybe he might go to Man City, but I don't think he's going to go to any club in January. And so this transfer saga and this story isn't going anywhere for a while, so we could basically do this every week. And number 5 is I'm going to give my best guess at a lineup for Linares in the Copa del Rey tomorrow. Linares, a team from Andalusia, who could give Barcelona a bit of a fight. Again, Barcelona has to go on the road, so they have to play in a pitch that isn't what they're used to. Let's put it as kindly and nicely as that. And as well as the number of COVID players who've been out and players trying to come back, and even Dani Alves technically being registered. So there's a lot going on here. Let's give you that starting lineup here. It may be one that actually could play a back seat to the potential returns of Ansu Fati and Memphis Depay. And if Dembele tests negative, he could be on the bench too. So you could have some circumstance where Ansu Fati, Memphis, and Dembele all come off the bench if Barca need them against Linares, which you hope that they wouldn't after the first 60 or so minutes. Rotation is important, but with Ferran Torres still out with COVID plus not being registered, and then the 3 players I said coming back from injury, or Dembele also out for COVID, I think that Xavi's going to stick with that forward line that we saw against Mallorca in Jucla, Luke de Jong, and Ilasha Komash. You still need to win the game, so go with the front 3 that beat Mallorca. I could easily see a Komash getting his first team goal, and if the match is wrapped up, keeping the big guns on the bench, you can also bring in more teenagers later on. As for the midfield, there is a balance between going for a victory, because you do want to advance in this game, with dealing with the sheer number of players out. So I think there will be here a mix of experience and some youth or some players that need more minutes. I think we still see Busquets come back to start alongside Puig and Nico, with De Jong probably getting the rest this time, Gavi, COVID questionable, and Pedri out due to COVID. And that is saying that with Alvaro Sanz making his first team debut against Mallorca, I don't think he'd start this match, but I think we'll certainly see him on the bench along with a number of other B players that were also on the bench for Mallorca. And along that back line, I think we're going to get the Lenglet and Umtiti experience down the middle. I think just with rotation for Garcia, Araujo, and Piqué, largely doable to have Lenglet and Umtiti in the middle. And Dani Alves, who did clear COVID protocols, I think he should start on the right. And then on the left, that's where you have the real question mark. You could have Alba in his return. It could be Mingueza again. It could be Balde if he clears COVID stuff. Or a real surprise like a Mika Marmol, which would mean that Jucla or a Komash doesn't start. So I don't think you'd see Marmol start in that spot. So I'm going to go with Alba, and in net, I'm guessing Neto. I should note that I believe no fewer than 7 first-team players must be on the field at any one time in this matchup. So with this idea that like against Boca Juniors, when there were tons of La Masia players and players from Barca B, again, Nico still being registered as a B-team player does not help more B-team players get on the field. Because with the starting lineup we went with Nico, Jucla, and a Komash, that's it. Everyone else has to be first-team registered. So by the time you finish watching this, I bet that there's been 3 or 4 new pieces of news, but that'll have to wait till later, because for now, I will see you tomorrow for that matchup against Linares, and as always, until next time, Forza Barça.